To this point, the trophic systems we've discussed have been plant-based. Here, we discuss detritus-based trophic systems. Detritus-based trophic systems convert a much larger proportion of available energy into production than do plant-based trophic systems. This statement seems pretty clear from the authors, but why is this? Is it due to differences in efficiencies, or is there another reason why detritus-based trophic systems are able to convert such a large proportion of their energy compared to plant-based systems? If we're to take an approach where we took a look at efficiencies, consumption, assimilation, and production efficiencies, which one of these might be higher or lower in a detritus-based system? This is figure 10.15, and it shows some of the basic patterns associated with the two basic trophic systems. In the plant-based trophic system, this should look pretty familiar. We have NPP, so primary production, a fraction of which goes to herbivores, carnivores, and then secondary carnivores. At each step, there's respiration, for example, by herbivores, which limits the amount of energy that's available for higher trophic levels. And actually, if we, instead of having NPP, we had GPP, we could include respiration too. So in this case, this is a basic system where we have a linear transfer upwards, but no secondary transfers back downwards of energy. So it's really rare that, for example, that plants are going to eat consumers or carnivores. In a detritus-based system, we have soil organic matter, or let's just say litter. So dead organic matter that serves as on the basis of this trophic system. One thing that's unique about a detritus-based trophic system is that we do have these flows upwards. Instead of herbivores, we're going to have bacteria and fungi, and then we'll have microbivores and types of carnivores that eat microbivores. And at each stage, there's also respiration that occurs. But one thing that's also unique is that there's recycling back down into this primary level. So any materials that aren't consumed aren't lost to a secondary pool, but instead get recycled back into soil organic matter, or detritus. And so that's one way, by constantly recycling those fractions that generally would have been lost, we can generate higher productivity out of a detritus-based system than we can in a plant-based system. So the recycling of material that generally would have been lost back into the base pool here, the soil organic matter or the litter pool, is one reason, or at least one difference, between the detritus-based system and plant-based trophic systems. What about the different efficiencies? As we take a look at the efficiency by which energy and materials are transferred from one pool to another, are they going to be higher in the detritus-based system or the plant-based system? Well, when we take a look at the data, consumption efficiency is actually higher. Eventually, almost all the litter and soil organic matter is going to be consumed by bacteria and fungi. The authors don't provide data on this, but essentially all of the carbon that goes into the system is going to be consumed to one degree or another within the system. There's going to be some leaching of dissolved organic carbon, and those numbers are not necessarily trivial, but for the most part, from a generalization, we can think of consumption efficiency as being a lot higher in that system. In addition, the assimilation efficiency is higher too. The reason assimilation efficiency is higher is that the digestion of organic matter by bacteria and fungi tends to be extracellular, and so there, almost all of the carbon that they take into their bodies is actually assimilated, and there's not much loss in that sense. So to a certain degree, this is an accounting trick, but for all intents and purposes, bacteria and fungi are really efficient with the organic carbon that they take in. Lastly, in a detritus-based system, production efficiency is also higher. And the reason for that is the same as what we had for fish, for example, and insects. When we take a look at the detritus-based system, the insects and invertebrates have high production efficiency. So a large proportion of the energy that's available for production of biomass is actually used in production of biomass. Essentially, because the insects and invertebrates that are associated with these food chains are cold-blooded, their respiration rates are a lot lower than you get for those systems that are based on warm-blooded animals, such as birds and mammals. So put all three of those together, and you have a great recycling of organic matter back into the base of the food chain. In addition, you have really high efficiencies at each of those different levels. Respiratory losses are low, assimilation efficiency is high, and the consumption efficiency can be almost 100%, depending on how much dissolved organic carbon is lost out of the system. So when we take a look at detritus-based systems that are part of our food chain, they're actually really efficient, and we can produce a lot of fungi, for example, off of the detritus, off of organic matter that normally would be wasted. So mushroom farms are really productive in many senses due to the differences in efficiencies and recyclings that are unique to detritus-based systems.